It's a great day. My name is Shay Brown, the happy entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the number one business development and revenue focused late night show in the country where we are on a mission. And our mission really is to empower, our mission is to inspire, and our mission is to provide you, the entrepreneur, with all of the resources that are really necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you were called to serve. And on this episode, we have the one and only Ticora Davis, who'll be talking about, the power and importance of having a trademark for your business and for your content. What's going on, Ticora? How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing today?
Good. Now, let's just start off with just your view of the world, which is why do entrepreneurs like myself, why do we not slow down to make sure, and we'll focus on trademark in the beginning, that our trademark is in place, that our paperwork is in place. Now, I'm not saying all entrepreneurs, so don't tune me out, but I've been guilty of not getting a trademark off and running and then getting a cease and desist order, right? And I had the best intentions. I wanted to do something, but I just didn't do it. So here's the question specifically on your experience. Why do we not start off and just get everything done before we launch?
Well, I think it's twofold. There's often issues with lack of capital and lack of access to resources so that these things can actually be done timely, efficiently, and effectively. The best time to trademark is honestly before you launch your next product, your program, or your service. But most often, people don't have the funds or the means to be able to take that type of calculated risk. And the other reason why entrepreneurs just do not slow down is because entrepreneurs like things done yesterday. They don't want to wait. Generally, they want to pursue, move forward, get it done, and do it very fast. And those people who are quick starts and they are high implementers, they don't have time to even worry about it. It's almost like I'll figure it out or I'll worry about that when that comes or I'll cross that bridge when I get there. Um, and then sometimes people have the experience of doing just that, but the world or another company slowing them down with the cease and desist.
Well, let's try to break it into two different groups if we can. Makes sense. Two different groups. Let's talk about the one group. That's the Shea Browns of the world. And they've got a business going now. They've got a new idea. We want to launch, and they decide they want to get going.
Yeah.
And, I'm not saying it's the case, but my experience has been by the time I talk to you, the attorney, which everyone should have, I might be delaying something, 6 months, 8 months, 12 months before I can get it off the ground. And by then the market might shift. So let's talk to the
Yeah.
person that's always in a relaunch. They're always looking at a new product or service, and they don't. Why should they stop to get that trademark going when the process seems to me so long?
Yeah, I think one it's a couple of different reasons. I don't think that you should trademark everything. I really think that you
Okay.
should look at the assets that you're creating. And when I say assets, I'm talking about your intellectual assets. So whether that be courses or programs or signature services, those things that are have that really great profit potential, I think those are the things that need to be prioritized in your kind of trademark hierarchy. Like, what do you need to protect first, second, third, right? And so, for me, if you are either building a personal brand where you are really using your own name and you're launching various services and products, I think that would be very smart for you to actually trademark your name. That's likely not going to change. You're likely not going to revamp the name and things like that. So if you are leveraging your own personal brand, I think hands down that's something that should be protected. The next thing, if that's not a priority, definitely the name of the company. Because if the company is launching various products and services, then that also is a no-brainer. So when people are kind of toggling between what should they do first or second, I think those two should be up on the list. And when and so that's really to answer the question in part. The next is why you should slow down is honestly it is so important for entrepreneurs to take calculated risk. And I have seen far too many times where people invest tons of money in branding, product creation. If you are investing tons of money in the actual promotion and the marketing of the product or service, then a trademark should definitely be earmarked in the budget because if you're already investing tons of money in that, you should make sure you are the only person in the marketplace who can exclusively control how that brand shows up. Um, I'll tell like a cautionary tale of this. I had a client, they were a company in South Carolina. And so they were exclusively providing a very high end service to their clients in South Carolina. In fact, they do things like custom cabinetry, like my hutch back here. They build that type of stuff. And so they created a great footprint for themselves in South Carolina. And finally, after 5 years, their company was ready to expand into North Carolina, it made sense. It was a natural expansion, but they were very close to the border. The moment that they entered into North Carolina and started to target those North Carolina companies, they immediately received a cease and desist. Unbeknownst to them, there was a separate company in North Carolina that did the exact same thing as them, had the exact same name, provided the exact same service, and they received a cease and desist. This was devastating to my client because they had to cease operations. A cease and desist means you need to stop doing everything. I think people don't realize that. It means literally stop your business, stop doing things. So they shut their business down for 30 days. They could not accept new clients. They couldn't accept any new types of contracts. And what they had to do was they had to change their business name in 30 days. Not only did they have to change the business name, they had to rewrap all of their trucks because the trucks had the other owner's logo on it. So now they had to pay for new wrapping on the trucks, new door signage, new signage on the outside of the building. They had to pay for new business cards, new stationery. They had to destroy the things that they already had that had the other company's name on it. And they had to relinquish their website because the website had the trademark name in it. And so, literally, in 30 days, she said, okay, we immediately lost about $30,000. But I know for sure that that's not the only amount of money that they lost. Imagining people who you may have encountered years prior, they go to the website thinking you're the same company. Now you've lost that business. The traffic that was sent there, all those back end links. And so that's why it's really important if you are planning to launch the brand or even expand it. It's really a great time to really slow down well enough to really calculate, what do I need to do next, because otherwise you could end up in a situation like my client, and I had to step in and rescue them because they got another attorney that told them, you can just choose this different name. That attorney was not a trademark attorney. They just kind of were like a general business attorney. I looked the name up. I was like, you can't use that name either. It's trademarked. You could be in the same situation. So I helped them, and provided support to them when they chose a separate name. But that was really devastating for them because they had been in business for about 5 or 6 years at the time.
And you decided to focus on trademark, and that's a really good example of what could take place. Take a moment and talk about, are there any cases that out there where you're able to, where folks may have gotten started and you may be able to work with the person that has the trademark? And the reason I say that is I'm going to the other side, and I'll give you just a 30-second example. So Happy Entrepreneur Show, something that we trademarked initially, and then a big conglomerate, I guess I can say their name now because we've already signed the agreement, Entrepreneur Magazine decided to challenge it.
Yep.
And what is your experience, for folks that are out there that may get started and maybe the person doesn't own it because they didn't own it, but I love Entrepreneur Magazine. If they're watching and listening, we did work something out where we're able to keep the Happy Entrepreneur, and we had to put with Shay Brown behind it, which you do see here. And we just can't create any products or services. So we don't sell anything under Happy Entrepreneur anymore. But my point to you is, what would you say to the person that says, man, I love what I have? Does your company do the research in advance, like you were talking about, so that if there is some, I don't know how to say it, discrepancy or some codes, I still don't understand all this stuff, that you're able to maybe try to broker something before the trademark goes all the way through? Does that make sense? So my question
Yeah.
for those folks that are listening is, if you already got started and she discovers someone has the name, does she get involved to help negotiate or try to broker a deal or some type of situation?
Yeah. And so, My practice primarily focuses on trademark law, and it has been for almost the past 7 years. I've almost been in. I'll be in business for 7 years come January. And so, yay. So I've done everything from trademark filings to cancellations to negotiating coexistence agreements. So I've quite often negotiated an agreement called a coexistence agreement, which means that the two brands that may have the same name or a highly similar name, that they agree to coexist underneath certain terms. So I've been able to do that, and I've had my fair share of run-ins with Entrepreneur Magazine, and I'm currently dealing with a few cases with them right now. So I would just reserve my comments for now.
You can use our example. I think we're one of the few that's got a deal done. So you can use us as an example if you want. No, I'm joking. Which I knew you
Right.
already knew that. I'm just joking.
Well, I think there's a couple of things with Entrepreneur Two magazine. Like, if you are considering filing a trademark, and it does not only contain entrepreneur, even if it contained preneur, and it was related to business services, they will come after you. And so oftentimes what they're trying to do is something we call preserving the record. And that's just a legal term of art that means that they are trying to limit the scope and size and the volume of trademarks that are registered that have entrepreneur or preneur or anything related to that, because they really, the goal for them is to not lose rights over that name. There is something called genericide. It's like homicide, but for trademarks. The trademark can get killed. And that means that a name that used to be distinctive can lose its distinctiveness. And as a result of losing that distinctiveness, it no longer becomes eligible for trademark protection. This actually happened with aspirin and Band-Aid. Escalator. So these names actually used to be for large companies. I mean, escalator then became generic because any moving stairs, people started to refer to them as escalator. And Band-Aid and aspirin, although those are still brands, they really primarily go by their logo marks. And so the logo mark is a composite, which is a combination of both word and design. And so ultimately, you have to be really careful. Now, there have been a lot of trademarks that have went against Entrepreneur Magazine. They fought back, and they've been allowed to actually register their trademarks without a coexistence agreement. What happens though is that far too often small business owners do not have the capital that it takes to fight them in the long run, because fighting a trademark opposition matter, it can take anywhere from an additional 18 months and can run somebody anywhere from 25 to $50,000. And that's just devastating for a small business owner. So you were asking, well, Ticora, have I been able to do coexistence agreements? Yes. The most important part of the trademark process, in my opinion, is not necessarily filing, because that is important, but it is also the search. The first question you should ask yourself is my use of this trademark hurting another entrepreneur? Not how fast can I get to trademark? When can I trademark? The very first question we ask and we must address is your use in violation of someone else's rights? Because if so, we need to handle that, whether that be with approaching them. Like right now, I'm trying to broker the purchase of a trademark, and I'm representing my client with respect to that. And so I'm negotiating something on that particular end. Or it could be, let's pivot. So me and my team, we have our own internal process where we've actually helped entrepreneurs develop really strong and distinctive brand names. And we've been doing that for over a year or so, and we've done that for about a dozen brands. And so we have this unique ability to combine the marketing and advertising skills of internal team members with the legal prowess that we have from the legal team. And then we combine that with different naming concepts, because there's various naming concepts that not only increase your chance of having a successfully registered trademark, but also will help you stand out in a crowded marketplace. And so those are a few of the different unique services that we offer at the law firm, not just filing the trademark, but actually helping to develop distinctive brand names that people can leverage and use and they can move forward with.
You know, folks are listening and saying, whoa, Shay, I love it. This is a different conversation. She's breaking it down into the everyday person like Shay Brown could really understand. They might be wondering, Shay, you didn't slow down. Who is this person? I mean, the creator firm, one of the fastest growing trademark firms out there, according to Inc. 500. I mean, she's doing some amazing things. Shay, who is she as a person? What's the backstory that led her to where she is today, where she's standing up now, raising her hand and saying, look, I'm a fighter. And that's kind of what I wanted you to hear as well. We'll get into some things you need to look for. Maybe she'll share that in a moment when you're looking at different trademark firms. But first, let's slow down. Yeah, folks are going to read your bio. Some are going to see how famous you are, but there's someone right now that might be in the kitchen, they're cooking and they're listening to you right now. Someone's in the gym listening to this podcast. Someone right now might be on the road and they might be like, Shay, who is this person? So here's the question. Please share your backstory and a defining moment that laid you down the path to really specialize in trademark when you could have picked a whole lot of things to do with your life.
Oh, wow. All right. I'm going to just tell the story.
Tell the
So
story.
I started in undergrad and I had the idea and the dream to be an ophthalmologist, which is a laser eye surgeon. And so I went to NC State and I have a bachelor's in biological sciences. And so I did a lot of pursuit of the scientific path of things. And I studied plant physiology, plant pathology, the disease process of genetically modified tomatoes. And when I was in the laboratory, washing beakers and putting my tomatoes on petri dishes and really growing them, I thought, this is boring, and I'm not cut out for it. In order to be, a doctor, you really have to love, I mean, absolutely love science. And I really didn't. And so, what I discovered in that scientific laboratory was intellectual property. My plant, the lab director, Dr. Wendy Boss, my lab director, hi, baby girl's here. Thank you. Hi.
We love those moments. We just love those moments. They're like, oh, that's so special.
Can you close the door, please? Thank you. I didn't know they were coming back home so soon. I was going to pick them up. My husband surprised me.
She's a mom too, ladies and gentlemen. She's going to get to that too, I'm sure.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Mom of two. So she talked to me about, oh, we need scientists in Washington, and she kept telling me I had this really great anointing to be a teacher. And, she said all sorts of things. And so I ended up graduating from undergrad, and then I got an opportunity to go and work on the Hill in Washington, D.C., and I ended up in Congresswoman Marsha Fudge's office. And so while I was in the office, I actually staffed her on the Science and Technology Committee, but I was more so a staff assistant. And that's where my love for the law became reignited. Sorry, guys.
That's fine. No worries. Ladies and gentlemen, we are actually live. This is kind of where we are, which is kind of cool.
So
You see a mompreneur.
Thank you.
Real time stuff, ladies and gentlemen. This is real. We can't make these stories up, can we? We love it when it happens. A kid, a dog, a husband. We've had parents, people who are who take care of their parents, just walk right in. It's kind of cool. She's a real person.
I am a real person. So, I went and I worked on the Hill, and that's where my passion for the law became like reignited. I actually always said I wanted to be a lawyer for a long time, and I kind of lost my way. And so I ended up getting into law school, and I had this full intention of being a patent attorney because I had the requisite science background, and I thought it'd be really cool. And I was taking a patent drafting course taught by Braxton Davis, who's an amazing African American patent attorney, black man. He was actually on Shark Tank, and really really smart. And he had a sister, a black woman. She worked at Coca-Cola, and she came in and she taught a class, and it was on trademarks and copyrights. And I had this moment where I saw her, and it was like, that's what I want to do. Like, that's what I want to be. She was so excited. She was so passionate. I didn't even know what a trademark or a copyright was. I just was fully focused on patents. And I just thought, not even thought, it was like, that's it. I want to do that. And so from that moment on, just from that one class, it changed my life. And I've been trying to figure out what her name is ever since so I can go back and thank her. But I never was able to even take a course in trademark law in law school. I kept trying and never fit in with my schedule. And so I graduated. I didn't pass the bar first time. I was devastated. I missed it by 5 points. But then after that, I got a job at a healthcare startup And they hired me because I had a science background and a legal background. And so I became an intellectual property analyst for about a year and a half. And I worked with over 300 inventors, and I would look at their patentable inventions and I would determine whether or not they were eligible for patent protection. That process of working with inventors allowed me to understand the passion of creatives and how people can have ideas, world changing ideas, and why they want to be able to put them out into the world. And so that's when I knew. I said, okay, I really, really, really want to work with these types of people because it was so invigorating for me. I ended up passing the bar, and my husband and I, we got pregnant with my son, who's now 7, and I was excited. And then I got laid off from the healthcare startup company because they were down. So I'm 4 months
Wow.
pregnant, just bought a house, and I still don't have really any legal knowledge. Even when I worked at the healthcare startup, I wanted to work on trademarks, never had the opportunity. Um, they really try to keep me in that position. So I get laid off, and my husband is like, just relax, I'll take care of you. And I'm like, no, I'm an independent woman. I need to work, and I should have just set my tail down somewhere and let him take care of me. But no, Ticora had to work. So I get up, I waddle myself. My friend was working at an entertainment law firm, and she was like, hey, we need some help. So I go, I interview for the job, and he seemed nice. Like, I was excited. And he offered me a job, and I started to work there. And I thought, this is my dream job. I remember coming home to my husband. I was like, I accepted a job. He was like, you accepted a job? You didn't talk to me? I'm like, yes, you should be happy for me. He's like, okay. And I was like, it's my dream job. I get to work with inventors and entertainers. This is perfect. But it wasn't. It was terrible. It was a very abusive and toxic work environment. This
Mm.
gentleman, and I say gentleman, I use the term loosely. He was yelling at us, cussing us out, berating us, and I thought, you just got to take it to court. This is what all the lawyers go through. You hear about these crazy stories at small law firms, and you just endure. I just kind of felt like, just endure, get the skills. And so while I was trying to get skills, he never taught me trademark law. Like, the only thing he would do was say, these files are disorganized. Tell me how we can reorganize the files. And I would go and I would research, and I would take free classes on law firm management. And I would go back to him and I'd say, here's my proposal for how we can improve the filing structure. And he'd say, I don't like that idea. I want all my files to stay the same. So I'm like, okay. Then I would come to him and bring another idea. And he would reject every idea I brought to him. He rejected. And I got so frustrated. So he basically treated me like a legal secretary. I swept the office. I'm pregnant, sweeping the office, mopping, wiping things down. And I went on maternity leave. I had my son, and he called me when my baby was 10 days old. And the whole time I was off, I kept saying, you know, hello. That's that baby, the big baby. I kept saying, I don't know if I should go back. I don't know if I should go back. I feel like I have to go back because I feel like that's my only. I kept limiting myself and saying, this is the only way I can get this experience. But it's such a terrible environment. I don't know if I'm going to be okay after having a baby and going into this environment and coming back home. And so he called me when my son Miles, was 10 days old. And he said, I've been thinking about it, and I no longer think you're fit for the success of this firm. You should focus on healing your body and get over your pregnancy brain. And so he fired me, pretty much for having. And so I'm holding this blessing in my arms, and I'm like, this man is trying to tell me it's like a curse, like I have pregnancy brain. He's trying to tell me I'm not fit for the success of his firm. And, I still felt very lost, but I was relieved because I didn't have to go back in that environment. And so I did what most attorneys do, is I started to work at some contract positions, and that really sucked. So I was like, this story is getting really dark, but it's going to get some light really soon. And I just started to work those jobs and those positions, and I applied for over 100 jobs. I didn't get an interview anywhere, and I just cried out to God, and I just said, Lord, you're not opening any doors for me. Like, are you trying to tell me I'm supposed to start my own law firm? And in that moment, just a peace that passed all understanding came over my body, and I knew that that's what I was supposed to do, which is why the opportunities weren't opening up for me. And I was even thankful that even though I had the opportunity with the gentleman and he was very mean, it actually grew my confidence because I'm like, if this person who's not kind, who's really mean, he's out here and he has a business, if he's doing it, and he's really not that smart, in my opinion, I could do it too. People are actually paying him and I can do this. And so I literally took on some pro bono clients. I did two trademarks on my own. I read everything on the page. I actually started to just teach myself because I realized there was no opportunity that was coming to me. I had to create my own luck. I had to create my own opportunity. I had to put myself in a position to win. And then I launched my law firm January of 2017. And
Yay.
out there. And about 5 days later, I got a phone call from VH1, and they said, "We need a lawyer to be on this show called Black Ink Crew." So then I ended up being on TV. So, yeah, that is how I got into doing this. And it went from me literally not knowing how to do one trademark to probably being one of the top trademark attorneys in the country and having an almost 98, well, 99% success rate when it comes to registration. So that's my very long but really, really cool story.
First of all, that is very important. I wanted them to hear the backstory. I want to give you more time to do that so they understand that you're not someone that's just pushing paper. You're not someone that just went to some secret dark website and said, "Oh, this is available," and then just fill out a little form and mailed it in. You're someone that's looking at the whole complexity of the business. You're someone that gets involved in the negotiations, and you're someone that can help them make sure that they secure what you say is their intellectual property. As you come down the home stretch, take a moment, and if you had to say, if you get a chance to sit in front of someone like me, here are three things that you need to look for inside of a trademark firm. Now, I'm gonna recommend they all work with you, obviously. So
Thank
anyone
you.
on here right now, I'm fully endorsing who she is. And you might be wondering, I'm sitting here, Shay, and I mean, if I sat down, I wouldn't even know what to ask her. Like I wouldn't even know what I should look for inside of a trademark attorney because many of us, I know before I got started, I never found myself. That wasn't even, people talked about it, but it was like over my head. So here's the question: what's one, two, or three things or questions maybe someone should look for when they're looking to bring on a trademark attorney? That's number one. And number two, because you can handle a two-part question in the short amount of time that we have, what do trademark attorneys look for when they're looking at a business? Right? I
Mm,
mean, because I know you don't take every case, obviously. So what do you look for as well when you're looking at bringing on a case that your firm will represent and work for?
yeah, great question. I think that one of the most important things that you can look at, and I'm not even going to say success rate because I was so hungry in the beginning and I didn't have a success rate. So I think it's important if you can look at the prior success of the firm, but there are a lot of amazing young attorneys who may not have like a full book of clients and hundreds of people they work with. So I would say look for someone who has full integrity and they can communicate to you in a manner in which will empower you, not disempower you. It is so important throughout this very long process that you feel comfortable working with your attorney and not just working with them for one moment, but for the long haul, because this process is about a 15-month process. So I would say make sure that you like the person, that they move and operate with integrity, and also that they're going to keep you updated and abreast of what's happening in a timely manner. So I would say if you're looking for someone, that's one of the requisite things, minimum, that you should be keeping top of mind. And then, of course, asking about their experience and what have they done? Because again, sometimes if you take a chance on someone, they will surprise you. Because I'm so thankful to the 17 clients who hired me in 2017, and it just went up from there. With respect to what I look for, and what most attorneys are looking for in clients is that we're looking for people who understand that we are also entrepreneurs too, and we are running businesses, and we expect and deserve respect. I think that sometimes when you work with small business owners, they might pay 2,000 or 3,000 for a trademark, but that does not mean that you get full access to the attorney. Because if I charge people by the hour, the trademarks would be around $7,000 to $10,000 with all the little things that I do, right? So I think really make sure you're setting your. I want a client who has an understanding and they can set their expectations. That okay, it's going to be high touch in the beginning, and that she's going to keep me abreast of what's happening, and that you also respect the expertise of the attorney. For me, I don't want to work with anybody who thinks that, oh, well, that's easy, I can do it myself. Well, if that was the case, you wouldn't be here. I want someone who's going to respect my skill, my expertise, as well as the unique things that I bring to the table, because I'm not just plugging and chugging things into a form. I'm really thinking about it from a holistic perspective as it relates to your brand. Is this the trademark that you need? Is it going to be the most valuable? Is it going to help you in the long run? And so I think when you have this mutual respect and understanding that, hey, everybody wants to win. I really want my clients to win well. Attorneys are looking for people like that because we can reject and refuse clients too. I've done it plenty of times, given refunds and sometimes just not given a refund after I've rendered services. And so I think people
Mm,
need to know and understand that.
I love it. You know, one of my favorite questions to ask is, what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given? I like to frame the conversation that you've had so many mentors along this journey of life. It's almost one of those unfair questions, right? But of all the mentors you had and on this journey of life, you just say, you know what, this is the best piece of advice I've been given in terms of running my business or just me being just a good human being. What's one of the pieces of advice you hold near and dear to your heart? And you at home, this is the opportunity you get to kind of lean, if I can say lean in, because you get to take away one idea that you could use for the rest of your life. You may never meet her mentors, but that one idea, it has a lifetime value to it. So, what's one of the best pieces of advice you've ever been given?
When I worked on the Hill, there was a legislative director. His name was Didon Bruner, and Didon is an attorney, and I love him to this day. And I was in a relationship with a knucklehead, and he and I, the young man who was my boyfriend at the time, he wanted to be an attorney. I wanted to be an attorney too, but he ended up being very abusive towards me, and I knew I needed to get out of the relationship, and I was trying to do it in a way that I would be safe. And the ex boyfriend was not respecting my boundaries, and it felt like not felt like it rose to the level of me being stalked. But I kept thinking about him, and if I take a restraining order out, what's going to happen to him? Is he not going to be able to get in law school? I kept thinking about the consequences of me protecting myself and how it was going to impact him. And Didon looked at me and he said, Takora, if you keep thinking about him, at the end of the day, that will be two people thinking about him and nobody thinking about you. And that gave me the strength to file the restraining order. But I carry those words with me to this day because I often have a tendency to slip back into that role of prioritizing other people's needs and wants and desires before myself. Sometimes I've held on to team members a little bit too long because I'm so worried about what's going to happen if I let them go, even though it's not beneficial to the business. And a lot of times I found that me prioritizing myself, I felt like it was selfish, but it's actually self care. And so I carry those words with me so I can continuously think about myself, my wants, my needs, prioritize my self care because I matter. And so that is probably the best advice I've ever received in my life.
Very well said. As we come down the home stretch, two questions. Number one, what type of clients are you looking to work with these days if your firm's taking on any type of clients? And number two, how can folks best connect with you? How can they stay in this conversation over and beyond the time that you and I have now?
Most definitely. I am looking for really enterprising and driven entrepreneurs, individuals who are building, probably multi-million dollar coaching companies, franchises, venture capital, particularly people who are in the personal finance space, accounting, coaching, in any of those spaces, and restaurateurs. I found that a lot of my clients who I've had the best relationships and long-term relationships with fall into those overarching categories. Further, I want to be a strategic partner and help those clients make executive level decisions, whether it be, hey, we want to just, I need someone to manage my intellectual property portfolio, or we want to get into licensing or even creating certification programs. So those are the types of clients that we really work well with, and the firm is built to be able to really support their full needs. With respect to being able to stay in touch with me, you can definitely find me on Instagram at Ticora Davis. I have a lot of great content there that is a mixture of, you know, professional content, inspirational content. So I would say that's the best place. And finally, my website is creatorslawfirm.com.
I like that. Thecreatorslawfirm.com. That's just really, really cool. I thought that was really cool. With that being said, let me say, number one, thank you to you and your family for spending this time with us that we've had right now. It's been kind of cool. We appreciate you and looking forward to connect with you again soon.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
And thank you. Thank you to the viewers. I'm going to recommend you connect with Ticora right away. Make sure you have all your paperwork in order. Make sure you have your trademark set so you protect what you already have. I want you to know that I never get tired of saying this every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. In fact, I wait for this moment to remind you that you're amazing, that you're incredible, that you've got so much greatness inside you, and that for you, today is your January 1st. And because of just that one reason alone, your best is still yet to come. Isn't that encouraging? Your better days are ahead of you. Your best is still yet to come. With that being said, my name is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. And I promise you from the bottom of my heart, we'll make some good things out. We connect again next time. God bless. We wish you success. Bye-bye, Ticora. See you later. Peace, everybody.